So you know the octopus guy?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's like it turns out he's in love with like that,
Yes.
and then
That's so
that's why he cut out his heart and put it in the
Yes.
chest, and then he's like, oh, she betrayed me, but she didn't. I don't
Is
know.
this the one with a really good organ piece?
Yeah, he's playing the organ with
Yeah.
his, and he starts crying, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh snap.
It is.
I don't remember.
And then Noah's good, and then but then they stab the heart, and then the other guy has to become the captain of the Flying Dutchman.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but they get married on the ship during the battle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Oh, you watched. That's how you remember.
I watched it last night.
I've
Yeah.
watched every single Pirates of the Caribbean, but I can't remember any of it because it's been so long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was good though.
Nice.
It was like kind of a sad, like melancholic type movie,
Yeah.
but I thought it was good though.
Is there only 3?
There's like 5, but
Okay.
I
cool.
think
There's
after
only
that,
3 with Johnny Depp, right?
I think they're all Johnny Depp, but I think
Or-
after the third one, I think Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley aren't in the 4th, but
Yeah.
they're back in the 5th.
That's right.
So I
Cool.
probably won't watch this.
Okay.
But no, welcome to Encounter.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for joining us.
Yeah, it's obviously your first time on the show. People
Yeah.
don't really know who you are, so could you tell us a little about who you are and where you're from?
Yes. So my name is Emma Crippen. I'm from Lakeville, Minnesota. But the past couple of years I've lived in Iowa and then Missouri and now here in Dublin.
Cool.
And yeah. But I'm working at UCD with Focus as a full-time missionary. This is my 3rd year with Focus. So
Cool.
just trucking along.
For the
Nice.
listeners that don't know anything about Focus, could
Mhm.
you give us a little bit of a description about what?
Yes.
Yeah, being
so,
a Focus missionary entails.
Right. So Focus stands for the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. And basically our goal is to know Christ Jesus and fulfill his Great Commission. So to grow in divine intimacy with the Lord personally and to share him with others, to fulfill the Great Commission, meaning go and make disciples of all nations and teaching people to pray and teaching people to live as missionary disciples themselves. In a nutshell.
That's so cool. Yeah. And his focus isn't just in Ireland.
Right.
It's based all over Europe and in the States.
Yeah, so it started in the States. There are close to 200 campuses that have Focus missionaries in the States, and then there's like 5 or 6 European campuses. So we've got campuses in Ireland, Germany, and Austria, and then also one in Mexico now.
Interesting.
So,
You ever been to Mexico?
no,
Okay.
have you?
Yeah, I went once.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you? For why did you go there? Just for like a holiday?
Yeah, for spring break.
Nice.
07.
Nice. Cool. Nice. I was gonna ask, did you go to see Our Lady of Guadalupe?
I didn't. I went to
Mm.
Cancun.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's great.
Yeah, it was nice though. Actually, it wasn't nice. I got sick. My whole family got sick, except my dad.
Just because of the heat.
We think like the water wasn't like,
Oh. Okay.
or the ice or something like that
Fair,
wasn't the
yeah.
best.
That's tough.
Fair.
But no, I'm sure it's nice though. I'm sure it's nice for other people. I wasn't crazy about it.
Okay. Cool. I was gonna ask, what has been like one of the biggest differences? Because you've been a missionary in the States, you've been a missionary in Ireland for a couple of months now. What's just off the bat, what's been like the most noticeable difference between the two places?
In terms of like what I do or just living.
Yeah, and also just kind of like are the responses you get from people in Ireland different to the ones you get in the States? Is it, it's obviously going to be a little bit different because it's in a completely different country, and you're
Mhm.
having to move home to be a missionary in a different country. How
Mhm.
what's been like the biggest difference for you being a missionary last year and this year?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is what's actually the same. So there are differences, like the way that we maybe meet students is a little bit different. We've been doing a lot of something called barehanding, where we go out and basically talk to strangers and get conversation going that way. And then I guess that would be like something new that I've done this year that I haven't done in the past. But like I said, what comes to mind first is actually what is the same, because coming over, there are a lot of little differences here and there, but the reality is that the gospel is still the same. Like the truth that we're sharing is still the same, and the way that the Lord loves and wants to heal is still the same. So that's been a great consolation, is just the reality that sharing the gospel is consistent. It's not changing.
That's amazing.
What made you want to become a missionary?
So I encountered Focus Missionaries when I was a student in college. I went to Drake University in Iowa. And Focus Missionaries were a huge part of my conversion. I actually wasn't Catholic coming into college, and I got to be really close with missionaries, and one was actually my confirmation sponsor. So
Okay.
the Focus Missionaries have a very special place in my heart. But I saw the joy that they had living mission and sharing our Lord with other people, and I really wanted to be a part of that. There's also, so one of the missionaries that my confirmation sponsor, her name is Bree. She's told me a story in my third year of school that made me want to be a missionary, and it's called the ugly cake story. And so if you imagine you're like a little kid, maybe 3 or 4, and you're at home playing.
Not too long ago for you.
Yeah, exactly. You're at home playing, and it's just you and your mom, and your mom comes up and she says, "Okay, Dion, okay, Kian, it's your dad's birthday, so we're gonna make him a cake. It's gonna be really great." You're like, "Yes, I love cake. I love my dad. This is gonna be awesome." And so she says, "Okay, you go and get the flour from the pantry, and I'll preheat the oven." And so you go and you get it, and you're so excited, and you grab the flour, and because you're small, halfway across the kitchen, you trip and fall, and there's flour everywhere, and it's a big mess. But your mom is really, really gentle. She's so kind. And she comes down and she says, "Don't worry about it. I'll clean it up. You go get the eggs and crack them in the bowl," which is arguably a larger task for a child. But you go and you get them and you smash them in the bowl, and there's like a dozen pieces of shell. And this kind of chaos continues, right? And by the time the cake is done, it's crunchy from the shells, and it's burned, and it's lopsided, and it's ugly. But you put it on the table, and your dad comes home and he says, "This is the most beautiful gift. Thank you so much for making this for me." And mom easily could have made the cake on her own, right? Like, she's done it a dozen times before, doesn't really need your help. But because she loves you, she wants to spend time with you and to create something with you and invite you into something that you can participate in together. And so when this was presented to me, it's kind of like, this is the way that the Lord loves us too, right? He doesn't expect perfection. In fact, a lot of times when we are acting as co-operators with the Lord, we might make things worse from time to time.
Right, yeah.
Mission is just a messy thing. But he calls us to be missionary disciples because he loves us and he wants to spend time with us. So that was a big story that shaped my desire to become a missionary.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? You said you weren't Catholic when you entered college.
Yeah, so I was raised Protestant, technically Lutheran. And by the time I got to high school, almost all my friends happened to be Catholic.
Okay.
So I ended up at a lot of their youth events and these kinds of things.
And sorry, you were a practicing Lutheran. You weren't just kind of culturally.
Yeah, practicing, I would say lukewarm.
Okay.
Not the most consistent in going to church with my family, but it was definitely like a part of my life. But anyways, so when I was 18, my high school friends invited me to a Steubenville conference, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
It's a big youth conference for Catholic kids in the States. But it was there that I encountered the truth of the Eucharist for the first time, and I remember being in Eucharistic adoration and just being totally captivated by the Eucharist, very struck by the true presence of Christ. So I kind of had that going into college, which kind of, propelled me onto the path of pursuing, coming into the fullness of the church.
Interesting.
Which happened when I was 20.
Okay. And that's when you were confirmed and made your first communion.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the Eucharist, what was it like when you got confirmed and you received the Eucharist for the first time?
It was so beautiful. I had so much gratitude and so much peace. And it was honestly just really overwhelming just to consider, like, receiving Jesus fully for the first time. Yeah, don't really know like how to put it
it's hard to put
eloquently,
into words,
but
yeah.
yeah, it was very, very memorable
Yeah.
experience.
So I feel like that experience is a lot easier to like. It's a lot easier to pinpoint in your life when you're someone that gets confirmed when they're older and they receive the Eucharist
Yeah.
for the first time when they're older, as opposed to when you receive it when you're, as we do here in Ireland,
Like 7
when
years
you're
old.
quite young.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to pinpoint. Like for me, it's hard to pinpoint when I first sort of, received the Eucharist whilst actually properly knowing what I'm actually receiving. So yeah, coming from someone who grew up Protestant and had to make that changeover, it is kind of cool to hear that it was more of a, that first time was more of like a a real experience because you like properly understood what you were doing in the first time. So yeah, and then what was it like making that decision to join the church, coming from like a Protestant background, if that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are definitely some challenges and hard conversations, just like with friends and family. But I think I know the Lord blessed it and has brought about great relationships from that. And I've since gotten to have great conversations with family members who are not Catholic or who are Catholic and desire to know more. And so that's been a great point of conversation in my life. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And were there any sort of like aspects of the church that you kind of found a little bit difficult to when you were sort of thinking about joining the church? Was there anything that like you just struggled to understand that the church taught?
I think there are probably a couple of things, yeah, and I think even still there are different things that I wrestle with. I trust the church, but obviously like things take time to understand and just like fully not believe, but understand, I guess. So I think there were maybe a couple of different things, but
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Was there anything that you struggled with, or any teachings that were like difficult for you to understand or accept?
It's kind of hard for me to say because I feel like I never approached, like maybe there were,
right,
but I never approached it with like, that I approached it with like that's really difficult for me to understand right now, but kind of the same thing. It's like I'm sure I would just kind of say to myself, oh, I'm sure if I looked into this, I would understand why the church taught this.
Yeah.
So never, I wouldn't say I ever like struggled with the church's teaching, because even if there was something that I was struggling to understand, if I went and whatever researched about it or whatnot, I would very quickly come to see that this is why the church teaches it and this is why it's true.
Right.
So I never like struggled with it. Like there was never anything that continually pestered me, and kind of there was never anything that made me doubt like what I believed, and there was never anything that made me say to myself, well, maybe this church isn't actually the right church. So yeah,
interesting.
but you're kind of in this similar boat to Emma in the sense that you well, you didn't grow up Protestant obviously,
No.
but I feel like those moments would be more prevalent for you.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned on the show like
Yeah.
1,000 times before, but like briefly, what were some of the things?
Well, I think like probably for you, like once you accepted the authority of the church, then it's kind of like you take like if you accept the authority of the church, you accept it. So you like, okay, I agree with the teachings. But there were some teachings that even when I had accepted the authority, I was like, I don't really understand it. Not that I disagreed, but I just didn't understand it. But then like the more I like thought about it and like talked about it in my Bible study, with that was led by a focused missionary, like I came to understand it more.
Yeah. I mean, there's things that I don't comprehend right now, but I understand why I don't comprehend those things,
right?
Because they are just so like they're just, we only like, there's a reason why we only know a certain amount of something. Like there are a lot of mysteries in our faith, and they're a mystery for a reason.
Yeah.
Like we don't know, like we know like a really small amount about the mystery, and the reason is because like if we were to know the entirety of what was going on, like yeah, like we would just be so overwhelmed with just pure joy. And yeah, it's because of God's love that we don't fully comprehend those mysteries, and that in itself is quite hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
But I understand that I understand the reason why it's hard to comprehend, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
By its nature, it's hard to comprehend.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
he
Yeah, so Dion kind of touched on it earlier, but what is your, I guess, perception of like the religiosity in Ireland compared to America? Because my perception from Canada is that Canada is more like outwardly Christian than Ireland, or that's more like socially acceptable. And my perception is that America, it's more socially acceptable even than Canada. I would think by a lot. Maybe it depends like the part of the country, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's maybe more socially acceptable to like be practicing, but there are like the number of people that I encounter. So like I said before, we do a lot of barehanding, and the number of people that I encounter that are like, oh, I was raised Catholic, like,
Yeah.
or even still identify as being Catholic
Right.
without practicing, it's just kind of crazy. Like there's so many people where that's the situation.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know if that answered your question. But,
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. I think in Ireland, for a lot of people, it's like an ethnic identity is like
Yeah.
being Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
like versus being like that's like
Yeah.
an immutable characteristic.
Yeah.
Rather than like necessarily meaning that they like believe.
No, because the
Much
first
of
thing
what the church
as a
teaches.
believer, the first sort of response you will get from someone that isn't practicing Catholic, but like they would call themselves Catholic,
Yeah.
is like if you tell someone that you are
Which
Catholic,
they are Catholic.
Yeah.
They're just not practicing.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But when you tell someone that you're Catholic, they'll be like, oh yeah, same.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
the two definitions, or like
Sure.
each person's definition of what being Catholic means is radically different.
Yeah.
It's but yeah, that's the kind of case that I would find myself in a lot, being
Right.
in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's one of the differences, but then yeah, what are some of like the, I don't know, cultural differences from that you've seen so far?
The sense of humor here is pretty harsh.
Wait, why are you looking at me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot of slagging going on, as they say, which is kind of funny.
I feel like, yeah, when I came into UCD, Eva Conroy, who used to work here and is also a focus missionary,
Yeah.
she would like not slag me, but like it was kind of the way of like, it was her way of like getting me in, like, to be involved in the whole sort of Catholic
Yeah.
community. And so like it was like friendly slagging.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big
it is.
thing in
It's a little endearing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're poking fun at something really specific, which means they observe me, which,
Yeah.
oh, they must pay attention to me. I don't know. Something like that.
Cool.
But, yeah.
Any what about the words?
The words.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's been the toughest one?
The toughest one? Well, your friend Oscar is always asking me how I'm doing in Irish, and I never know what to say because I can't remember the right responses.
Nice.
So there's that. Crack. That's one that I've had to learn.
Nice.
I still don't always know how to respond to that either. One that I like is Shanae. Like, that's it. Saying Shanae. That's
Shanae.
real, right?
I feel like it's something Neil would say. I would
That
never
is
say.
Beyond
Neil
my
says.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's fair.
yeah.
Good stuff.
It's good crack.
Good crack. There you go. That's you used it right there.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And then when you were in college, what did you study?
I studied psychology.
Oh,
Yeah. My
Cool.
major was psychology and my minor was neuroscience.
Cool. Okay, I actually
Yeah.
didn't know you did minor in neuroscience.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I really liked it.
What was why did you choose psychology?
I thought it was just really fascinating to learn about why people are the way that they are. And I loved what I learned because I think it gave me the opportunity to like understand people with fuller context of like knowing where people come from, or like trying to understand where people come from and what makes like what has shaped them to be the way that they are now. But I'd hoped to be a counselor or a social worker. Yeah, that's what I
Cool.
Would you still
That's it.
aspire to that at some point or no?
I think maybe. I think, well, if I did go into that field, it would require that I would go back to school and get
Okay.
a master's
A
degree.
master's.
So if that's what the Lord calls me to, then I will do it. But
Right.
it is a big commitment to go back to school. The longer that I'm
Okay.
out, the more I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it'd be kind of hard to go back.
That is true.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's true. I feel like I know so many people who are social workers.
Really?
Yeah, in my town, that was like the thing.
Really.
For all the girls were social workers, all the guys were like mechanics or like engineers.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I could see you like having an interest in that, right?
In social work,
I could see it.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah.
That's not where like my mind goes first when I'm thinking about what I want to do in the future. But,
Okay.
yeah, it's an option. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like neuroscience is an option for me, which I think
That's great.
How
I
was
didn't
that
know that.
actually? Yeah.
It was cool. So the neuroscience minor was kind of like a last minute tag on.
I was gonna ask, was that something that you decided to
Yeah.
do at the start or no?
No, because
Okay.
I started out as a biology environmental science double major. So
Wow. Okay.
because yeah. So because of my biology background, the first like year and a half of school, I already had a lot of the credits necessary for a neuroscience minor. So it wasn't like my main interest, but it was cool, the stuff that we got to learn about. So
Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, how was like, was that like is that a common sort of combination of like psychology and neuroscience just because they are so related, or is that just something that you picked?
I would say so.
Yeah.
There's a decent amount of overlap. At least there was in my university. So yeah, I wasn't the only one at my school who took that route. Yeah.
Nice.
Have you ever read like apologetics books?
Not really.
Okay.
Does one come to mind that you wanted to ask about?
No, I was just gonna
okay.
ask like what your favorite. Have you ever read apologetics books?
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
There's one by Dr. Edward Tree
Okay.
on relativism. I can't remember. I think it's Who Am I to Judge?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's probably my favorite one.
That's great.
Cool. Moving on. No, I'm joking. What's your favorite one?
No, I haven't read any.
Oh, really?
That's what I was
Okay.
asking. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I can give you that book. It's nice.
I think I have it actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I borrowed it from someone.
Nice. I bought it at
Okay.
Seek
Oh,
last
that's
year.
great.
Yeah. Actually, you guys are going to Seek again.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you excited for it? Or?
I'm really excited for Seek.
Cool.
Yeah, I know people have really powerful encounters at Seek, and it's been great to witness that as a missionary, but also like to grow in my own formation and experience with the Lord.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you been going the past like 2 years as a missionary?
Yeah. So my first year as a missionary, because of COVID restrictions, they were still kind of in place, and so we had local Seek conferences. So people in the States just like kind of divvied up, you know. Yeah. And so we had a small one in Kansas City, and it was good. But the first time that I ever went to a real Seek was as a missionary last year, because I didn't go in college, and that was awesome. The most beautiful part about Seek, in my opinion, well, one of the most beautiful parts, is the first mass that you get there, and this just like this flood of priests and religious coming in, and especially for people who are very new to the faith, to see that is just like, it's so striking. You know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Sorry. Seek is a conference run by Focus.
yes.
And it takes place once a year, typically around like Christmas, New Year's time. And it's been taking place. It was in Missouri, in St. Louis, Missouri last year. It'll be returning to St. Louis in Missouri this year. And it's basically just a week full of, just an opportunity for young people to come together from different universities from all across the world to participate in the mass together, to go to a huge, like a wide range of seminars delivered by some of the most famous Catholic speakers and guests from all around the world. So yeah, I was there last year. It was flipping amazing. It was so
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever been?
No.
You
Would
want to
you
go?
ever
I mean, probably not at this stage, but if I was in college, probably, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was great. What's the favorite part for me? I think Seek was like a great week because I think it was kind of one of the weeks that like laid a foundation in the different friendships that I have right now. Like a lot of my like really really close friends. I'm really close friends with them because of Seek. It's because like, you know, we spent the week together. We obviously had to share the room with Seek and everything, and it's like it's also a bit of it's kind of, it's obviously great, like you're staying in really really like really nice hotels, you're going to like really good like seminars and stuff, but also because you're from Ireland, you're having to travel there and you're jet lagged the whole week,
Right.
so a lot of it is hard as well. But to do that whole or to experience that whole week together with your brothers and sisters is just so, yeah, it was really good for me because I got to know a lot of the people really well, and that's kind of being a foundation for a lot of the friendships I have now.
Praise God.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you go to World Youth Day this year?
No.
Have you ever been? No.
No, I've never been.
Would you go to the next one?
Maybe. Isn't it going to be in South Korea?
It's in Korea. That's so crazy.
Sorry, I just literally just poured water out on your table.
Oh, it does.
Okay. Hey, good thing the candle is fake.
Yeah, that's true. I might. Would you?
Okay.
Would you go?
Maybe. When is it? 2027?
I think
Or
so.
something.
Yeah.
That's kind of long away, but maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Korea would be so cool to go to.
Yeah.
I've never been to like Asia or anything.
So far.
Yeah, true.
That's the only thing. It's just really far away.
I think it'd be cool.
It would be cool. I feel like if you had to go though, I would stay for longer than just a week.
For sure. Yeah.
That was the
Just
same.
move there.
Yeah. That was the same with all the people that came to like Lisbon this year.
Okay.
A lot of the people that came from
Far away.
afar, yeah, just kind of stayed in Europe for the week and did other things. Like they went to Italy and.
What was the breakdown at World Youth Day? Like, was it obviously it's probably mostly Europeans because it's in Europe, but like, what was the breakdown like? Like, I'm guessing there were a lot of Americans.
Yeah, if I can't remember this exactly, but I think it was Portugal was the most.
Yeah.
I think Italy. Yeah, Italy was the second most.
Okay.
And then it was Spain, and after that, I don't know, but I would presume it was something like America.
Like, did you see a lot of like
a
lot of Asians, a lot of Africans, a lot of South Americans?
I would say more definitely the majority of people were European.
Okay, that makes sense because
majority of them
right
were European. So a lot of Spanish flags, a lot of Italian flags.
Okay.
But funny enough, actually, when we were at the night of the vigil, so when we were in St. Louis in Christmas for Seek, we stayed with a few of the seminarians in their seminary. No, sorry, we stayed with. No, never mind. We stayed in a convent that it was an old convent, so it wasn't being used as a convent anymore. And we went to a seminary in St. Louis, where these seminarians were staying, just to like have dinner with them. And then turns out, the night of the vigil, like a lot of us got really close to those seminarians as well. Like I know a friend of mine, Stefan. He still sends like letters to some of his friends that were in that seminary. And then the night of the vigil, turns out that exact same group were staying right beside us.
Interesting.
Like literally right beside us. So it was just really cool to see them again. And,
that's awesome.
See like it was just really cool to see them again after a long time, because it's one of those things like you're probably never going to see them again, or at least you think that, because like they're in seminary now, they're gonna, please God, become priests at some point. So yeah, that was really cool to see them again.
Maybe you'll see them again sometime in the future. But you know who we will see again is our guests next Saturday at 2:00 p.m. for Encounter. Another episode of Encounter.
That was good.
Because unfortunately we're out of time. But thank you very much for coming on today.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure having you on.
2 of 3 of the focus series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until next week.
That's great.
God bless and take care.
Bye bye.